So let's figure out how to explain the pole element and explanation scheme. At first, we will start from the structure of the pole elements because we will explain it according to its structure. So let's go. First is starting position. Second is entry, third is fixed position, fourth exit, and fifth final position. In spins and drops, the fixed position is replaced by the flight phase. And in other like static elements, this is the fixed position, which we use normally and usually to make a photo. So sometimes students think that this is like the main position, but all elements of the structure are very important. So, and now let's go to the explanation scheme for a simple pole element, and I will take as an example the chair spin. So then the fixed position will be the flight phase, but in general this is the most simple element and you sure should know how to explain it, and I will make an example according to it. By the way, let's start with the explaining the structure of the pole element, the chair spin, and then we will go to the explanation scheme for this. So starting position for the chair spin is standing next to the pole and holding the pole using the basic grip. The entry is step, swing with the outside leg and moving your body around in a circle and lifting the legs. This is entry. And the flight phase is when we spin, when we like fly in the chair position. And exit is the moment when we lower our feet to the floor. And the final position is again standing next to the pole. So this was the structure of the chair spin, and now let's go to the explanation scheme for this element, and in general for the simple pole element we will take chair spin just as for the example. So number one is demonstration. So you name the element and demonstrate it. So you can tell, for example, now we will learn the chair spin. At first I will demonstrate it and then I'll explain it. It's important to name the element because students then need to remember like all the pole vocabulary, and normally the name of the element will help the students to understand a little bit about how the element will look, because the chair spin, for example, looks like you're sitting on the chair. And for the vocabulary, as I said already. And why we demonstrate the element, why the first point of the explanation scheme is important. So at first we should make the general expression how the element will look. So this will make it easy to explain the element later. And the second is we should kind of inspire students. So for this you should demonstrate it the best possible way, like fly longer, point your toes and make very good posture. So because even like simple element can look very beautiful, and when students see how graceful and beautiful the element can look, then they will inspire and they will be motivated to learn this element and to be able later, maybe not from the first attempt, but do it the same beautiful as you demonstrated it. So the second point is explanation of the element according to the structure of the element. So starting position, entry, fixed position, exit, and final position. And in our example, it will look like this. So stand close to the pole and take the pole using the basic grip. The inside arm is straight and maximum up, and the outside arm holding the pole on your chest level. That was the explanation of starting position. Then we go to the explanation of the entry. Take a step forward with your inside leg. Because of this move, your outside leg became backward and start to do swing in a circle to the side and forward, and at the same time your body also moves a little bit to the side and forward in the arch move. And when your body and leg, your outside leg, in front, then you lift your inside leg. That was entry. And after we explain the fixed position, the flight phase, like in what position we fly in this spin. And then you explain. So you bend your inside leg and your outside leg as well, and your hips a little bit behind, and you fly, you spin side to the pole in the position like you sit on the chair. Your feet together and pointed. Then you explain the exit. To finish this spin, please gently lower your feet to the floor and stand straight with a good posture next to the pole. That was explanation of the final position. So this is very important to explain all structure of the pole element, all points of the structure. That's why we started from it. And number 3 is additional comments. So what to pay special attention to, the most important point to emphasize once again. So for example, here in the chair spin, you can maybe pay attention to the circle swing. So your outside leg should swing in a circle, because mostly students just move the leg forward or to the side diagonally, but not from behind. The half of the circle from behind to the side is usually missed. That's why this is important point to pay special attention. So after you finish the point number 2, you explain all the elements. You tell pay attention that your leg should go to the side, like from the behind to the side, something like this. So some important point once again. Or maybe in the chair spin, it also can be that your wrist should not be twisted around the pole. Your arm should not be twisted, so you can pay attention to this nuance once again, or just in general, because it is not easy to, when you explain the element, it's not easy to note every moment. Maybe you explain the main parts first, but then in point number 3, you do some additional comments when the student already know how to do the elements, but maybe something was missing in the explanation, or some important points you emphasize once again. And then number 4, it's very important. This is assistance to students in the first attempt of the element. So here you can spot, you can explain again, or you can support. This is very important because normally students cannot understand everything that you explained already, and maybe something forgotten, maybe they need some spotting, maybe they need your additional comments. So in this point, you make sure that every student done their first attempt somehow technically correct. Maybe not perfect, no, but somehow technically correct. So maybe in this point you should explain again. That's possible, because they can forget something. or maybe you support, maybe you support even emotionally. So in this moment, you make sure that the first attempt of each student is done, let's say, somehow. And number 5 is working out the element and correcting mistakes, if any. Again, some additional comments or repeating the explanation of the technique. So here you already know that all students can do the trick somehow, or they as minimum understand, because not always this is successful. And here they're working out on the elements, so they're doing their like maximum 7 attempts. And you correct some mistakes. So if you see some mistakes, you say to each student what they should correct, what they can do better. You again do some comments, maybe some important nuances, and so on, so on. So this is like working stage where the all students are already working out the element on one side, because number 6 is learning the element on the other side, and they again do their attempts, and sometimes you need, for the second side, you need to repeat from assistance of the first attempt and only then working out the element. And number 7 is learning an element on dynamic pole. This is optional and this is not obligatory. And let's say I write it here in the shim because sometimes we use it. But for now, let's kind of forget about the dynamic pole. We will learn everything about the dynamic pole later, like how to start, how to teach the dynamic pole for beginners. So for now, this is not something that I would do, for example, for the chair spin, because this is beginner move. It's minimum, not for the first classes. But in general, this is also point in the explanation shim that can be done. That's why I wrote it here. Okay, and now let's go to an explanation shim for the complex or potentially more dangerous pole element. So here I will not give an example right away. So I will not explain like this is a lot, but let's go to the points and then I will give you some examples. So number 1 is explanation of the preparatory exercise for the element, if any, or the first step in mastering the element. So you explain the first step, or you explain pole conditioning to this move. Number 2 is learning the preparatory exercise or learning the first step, correcting mistakes, if any. Number 3 is explanation of the next step in mastering the element. This could be progression to the final element, or maybe it's again pole conditioning. Number 4 is learning the next step and correcting mistakes. Number 5 is explanation of the final element according to the element shim. So starting position, entry, fixed position, exit, final position. So only now you explain the final elements in the point number 5. Number 6 is additional comments, what to pay special attention to, the most important point to emphasize once again. And number 7 is assistance to students in the first attempt of the element spotting, re-explanation, support. So these points we repeat from the previous shim. Number 8 also repeated. This is working out the element and correcting mistakes, if any, additional comments, and repeating the explanation of the technique if needed. And number 9, learning an element on the other side. Number 10, learning an element on the dynamic pole. This is optional. So here you can see that some points are the same, but beginning of the shim is different. Also, I can tell that in this case, points 3 and 4 may be repeated if there are more steps in mastering the element. Yeah, so maybe there are not just 2 steps, maybe there are more steps or more preparatory exercises. Yeah, then you repeat points number 3 and number 4 as many times as you need. So you go to the explanation of the final element step by step. And this shim looks complicated because we explain complex or more dangerous move. But the main thing, what you should understand, the essence. At first, we have added an explanation of the steps, that is the stages of the approach to the final complex element. And because the element is more complex and potentially more dangerous, we remove the initial demonstration. Yeah, so there are no demonstration of the move. You can name the move, or maybe even don't name the move in the beginning. If the student know then how this element looks, yeah. So we remove the initial demonstration. Why? So that students would not be tempted to immediately try the final elements. Because in such elements, if they try it not step by step, but just automatically, yeah, this can be dangerous. If students see the demonstration of the chair and they super motivated and they try it already, this is not dangerous. This is not so good because I prefer first to explain, yeah, and I would stop the students to try the final element before explanation. Sure, if they knew this move already, then okay. But in general, if it's new for them, then no, they should listen to the explanation first. But this is even if they behave differently and try, this is safe. But for more complex and potentially dangerous moves, this is not so safe. That's why we remove the demonstration phase. So now I would like to make some example of complex or potentially dangerous elements. In beginner level, this would be boomerang, split grip, because it's can be dangerous for wrists. That's why it should be some pole conditioning and explaining the grip very well. Then the bomb drop. This is drop. Yeah, so and it should be explained first the positions, then little sliding, then mini drops, and only then the final drop. So yeah, that's why it's very important to go step by step. And next to examples in YouTube, there are advanced video tutorials, but I would say that can be intermediate as well. This is straddle jump and swing. So again, those are examples that can be kind of dangerous and should be explained in a step-by-step mode, yeah, with pole conditioning. So let's emphasize now what is important to understand about explaining the elements. At first, if you have explained an element well once, it does not mean that the students have memorized and understood every word you say and will be able to repeat the element. It is okay to repeat it again and again as many times as needed. Please remember that for you, this is not new element, yeah? But for students, this is all completely new, and they hear and see lots of new information. They can be like scared or confused, and this is okay to repeat again and again. Be patient. Then it is normal for students to confuse sides, positions, arms and legs, especially in inverted position. That is why it is important to accompany the students in the first attempt, and it is a good idea to place a crash mat if there is a risk of falling out of the element. Yeah, again, be patient and understand that this is totally okay. This is normal. That is not easy for students to understand everything from the first attempt, and they can do mistakes, and this is okay. So then, do not be nervous or annoyed if the student did not understand everything the first time. Understand that this is probably a completely new situation for student, and not only it is not clear, but it is also maybe scary for them or exciting. They can be worried, and again, this is okay, this is normal. Be patient and everything will be okay. And the last one, do not forget to explain the way out of the element, and make sure that all students have seen and understood it. It often happens that the entry of the trick itself are explained, and that's it. Students do not think that they do not know the exit. They just often do an element and already asking it how to get out, or they came out on their own, but practically falling away. So do not allow this to happen. Why this has happened sometimes? Because the final position of the element, of the static element, is the position in which we do photon. Yeah, so it looks like the element is done, and it is not. As we said in the beginning, when we learn the structure of the element is done when you do the final position. And before the final position, there is exit. That is so important to understand the structure and to explain the element according to the structure. Yeah, and not to forget to explain the points number 4, exit, and number 5, final position. And for students, this is not clear sometimes, and they might not ask you how to exit the elements, because for them that is okay. They saw the final fixed position, and for them this is like the goal is achieved. I will do the trick, and that's all. So that's why you should pay special attention to exit, and maybe when you do some additional comments, you can emphasize the exit also, especially if the exit is not clear, not so easy. Yeah. Okay, so well done. We know now the structure of the element. We know the explanation scheme for the simple pole element and an explanation scheme for a complex or potentially more dangerous pole elements, and also some important nuances about explaining the elements we figured out. Well done.